Ugh.
Yeah, I would be kicking myself. I'm sure there's a lot of people who have all kinds of like 90s RPG supplemental materials that, fucking lined their hamster cages with them, and now they're
Yeah.
worth like $400.
Well, you know what's crazy is that I actually I was already kind of dorky when I was like a little kid, like 7, 8 years old, and one of my dad's friends
Unsurprising.
yeah. Oh, is that a burn? One of my dad's friends was just a nerd, but in the 70s, and so like the early 70s. So like I remember I went to visit as like a 9-year-old, and they were like that. My dad's friends' parents were like, take all this stuff that Joseph doesn't need, like had from his room, and it was like all these 70s sci-fi paperbacks that are like now like super rare, and
Do
like
with them.
the D&D monster manual. I don't know, man. I got it all in New Jersey, and then when we moved, I think we just tossed it or some shit. Like brutal. I'm such a bummer.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of that stuff is, I don't know. Anyway, the Star Wars books, some of them are really good. The Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina is worth checking out. Tales from the Bounty Hunters is my favorite one, if only for the last story between.
What's the last one?
It's Boba Fett's story, and it is I'm not exaggerating. Fucking, it is so much better than the backstory he gets in the fucking prequels, where
I remember it.
the backstory he gets in the prequels is so bad. And
his dad gets his head cut off.
Yeah, and then he's like, "I'm angry and I'm Boba Fett now." I mean, I was always Boba Fett,
but now I'm really
now
Boba
I'm
Fett
fucking
right now.
Now I'm Boba Fett now.
Yeah,
I'm fucking Boba Fett. Like
I'm extra. Yeah, Boba Fett, and
I'm
that's
gonna name my ship the fucking Slave. And
Slave One. The Slave One. To be expanded upon.
Yeah, exactly.
In the book, didn't he? Wasn't he like really burnt, or he had like no hair and he was like super ugly?
You're thinking of Dwight from The Walking Dead.
Or you're thinking of Dengar.
Dengar was fucked up in the face.
Yeah,
he was another bounty.
Oh
yeah. Dengar, in a way, is sort of like Ghost from this book, in that
okay.
Seamless transition.
Segue, Gabe.
In that story, Dengar is also chasing after a lost love.
Okay, actually, so this kind of works.
Named Shella.
I think it's called I forgot what it's called, but yeah, Dengar's all fucked up in the face. He's the guy with the like Middle Eastern, like the Lawrence of Arabia, like head.
Yeah.
All right. Should we get into it?
Yeah. So this is welcome.
We're on, baby. Let's go.
Welcome
Matt,
to the show.
You're the you're the podcast pro.
Oh God. Fuck. I'm not usually the one spearheading this, but welcome to the show. And if today's book, fucked it up, is Shella. And this is Paul's pick. It's a sort of hard-boiled crime noir. And I guess we just have Paul explain why it is.
How do you pronounce
that
this guy's
chose
name?
This one in particular.
Is it
Andrew Vachss?
Vachss, right?
Vachss, like tax.
Vachss. Okay.
Yeah, by Andrew Vachss.
I was definitely saying Vox the whole time.
No.
That's how I said it.
This is the first book that I picked that was just like very, very random. I found it on the bookshelf and it was in the used section, and I was like, all right, this has a cool cover. I just wanted to like at least do one episode where I just had no preconceived notions of anything really. I just wanted to.
Turns out it's the first episode.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, you've been collecting Simenon, and I'm assuming it was in that same basic area of the store.
Actually, it wasn't. The Simenon novels like had kind of their own section, and another part of the store. What? As they should.
Transcendent.
Yeah, there was like a shrine there for Simenon books.
It's kind of true, actually.
Yeah.
But no, this one was just like in the section, and I just opened it up and read a few blips here and there, and like read the cover and was just like, all right, I might pick this one down the road, and I picked it this last week.
So it's a sort of like noir. It's not a detective novel, but because
No.
Vachss does have a detective series. I haven't read any of those books.
Yeah.
Detective Burke, or I guess he's a private eye or something, but this is not one of those. This is a standalone.
This is more of like an anti-hero type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think this is also supposedly one of the first departures from the like, PI private dick kind of.
I think it
like
is. I think
like
it's the
Simon,
first one. Yeah.
right? And people were like, "What the fuck? Where's Burke?" And didn't really like it, and I think kind of panned it a bit. But
so what's the basic outline here? It follows a guy who named Ghost in the story / John, which is the name he gets from his prostitute lover friend at the beginning of the story. And they get separated, he gets arrested, and he goes to prison, and it's basically the story of him trying to find her once he's released from prison, right?
Yeah.
Very cut and dry, very linear. I need to find her. Who can help me find her?
Right.
Who do I have to seek out? That
yeah.
Yeah, it's Taken. It's Max Payne Taken.
It's Max Payne Taken. He has a very particular set of skills with his hands.
He has a very particular set of skill, and it's just a set of one. One skill. No, it's fine.
One skill. And it's using his hands to figure out like a sort of idiot savant how to use various things and kill people.
Right. And he has a preternatural steadiness of hand, like he's like a fucking like neurosurgeon or something.
Does he have a did we get the impression that he had like an eidetic memory of some kind or some bizarre ability to like retain information as well? Kind of.
I don't know about information retention, but there's definitely moments where he sort of, it's like whatever the equivalent of that is, but for physical memory, for like muscle memory.
Yeah.
He like does something once or twice, and then he can do it perfectly from then on, like shooting a gun or breaking a neck or whatever.
He's a hand genius.
He's kind of like
that was my nickname in high school.
And
why was that?
Because of jerking off.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna see which direction you take that one. Got you. And Gabe masturbated.
What did you guys think of it overall? I mean, I think it was my least favorite of my picks.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. I found it, even though I think it has an interesting premise, like Gabe, you said in the text messages earlier that it's like kind of a side character that gets his own story, and he's not like incredibly interesting, honestly, but you get to like see this guy's one of his stories in his life. So it's like, it's a fine premise. I thought I just didn't think it was like, it didn't give me more than what I got out of like the first 20 pages. I thought it might go someplace darker than where it ended up. The writing was really easy to read, but it was like kind of a stunted writing style that you couldn't get a lot out, or I couldn't really get a lot out of it other than like descriptions and okay dialogue.
Well, I think this falls squarely in a very particular type of genre, which is where I engaged it at once we started reading. I was like, okay, it's this kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, like what you're describing, stunted. I think it's all sort of minimalist. I think this was written in the 80s, where that was like kind of also a bit in vogue.
Early
like
90s,
super
I think,
laconic.
maybe.
Yeah, I think it was early 90s.
Never mind. But like, yeah, like just the hard-boiled crime noir, where the entire world is just this vicious place full of threats, and everyone speaks in super clipped, laconic sentences that like, sometimes it lands that they're kind of layered in threats and veiled meaning, and sometimes it's a bit of a gimmick which I understand is can be boring. I actually liked the experience of this just because it was a big change of pace from our prior stuff, including my own choices.
Yeah.
What I always get, I just don't understand people that like this is like the sum total of their diet in terms of reading is
Yeah.
I mean, I think like I didn't mind the writing style so much. I mean, it was sort of, you know, and I don't know if this is what you were referencing, Matt, but it's sort of like the obviously taken to another degree, but it's like, you know, it participates in the same sort of tradition of like James Elroy or somebody, where it's very like, you know, there's like sentence fragments and it's all chopped off. It's very like, obviously it's a little bit less sort of like newsprint than that, right? Or like
yeah, cut from the headlines.
cut from the headlines, like film scripty than Elroy is. But I think that it's participating in that same history, and I thought, you know, again, I thought it was you know, sort of a visceral experience to read because it was all just coming so fast and I was just like churning through it. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it from that perspective of the actual experience of reading it. I mean, in terms of the story, I kind of had the opposite experience of you, Paul. I was like not enjoying it for the first 50 pages or so. And I was just like, okay, it's just a guy and his like prostitute girlfriend that he occasionally works with to, you know, shake down Johns for money in a hotel room talking to each other, but not really saying anything, right? Like that was the first 50, 60 pages or so. I didn't really get into it until he goes to see the sort of like low level crime, the Monroe character, who's a sort of like low level crime boss who we get the sort of backstory that he has previously hired John to do assassinations for him in the past. And I thought that's when it's really started getting interesting for me, both from the story perspective, but also from the perspective of like expanding the world a little bit and getting a sense of like where, what the context this guy exists in is.
Well, I was thinking a lot of I don't know if either of you are familiar with I I've only read the comic adaptations, but it's called Parker.
Never heard of it.
It's by this guy named Richard Stark, but they were adapted by Darwin Cook into these like sort of graphic novel things. Darwin Cook like did like maybe the thing you would connect with is he did the character design and like kind of intro portion of Batman the animated series.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I love that. Interesting connection. Andrew Vachss has a Batman novel that I think
for real.
Yeah, it's sort of like those Star Wars novels we were just talking about. He wrote like a Batman. It's not, you know, it's like a Batman sponsored novel where Batman like goes to like this like war-torn like fictional Asian country and like aids some guerrilla fighters it's very strange. Sounds very strange anyway.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty cool.
But I mean, it's kind of a piece because I feel like I said, it's of this almost like literary tradition and genre, where you mentioned James Elroy, and I think you shouted out what Carver,
Chandler, Raymond Chandler.
Raymond Chandler, right? Yeah.
Raymond, like the OG like hard boiled guys, Raymond Chandler, you know, James Kane, and
I can't think of any more either.
Yeah, Hammett, Dashiell Hammett.
But yeah, like just people existing in this world that like every character, every interaction is simply threatening, and everyone is just out, and like it's sort of like every woman is like just a sort of a prostitute or some sort of like sex trading femme fatale that's trying to like fuck you over from, and then the thing is just money. Everything is about like, and that kind of is where it gets interesting, is just how much of like everything is an exchange. the entire time.
It felt like the there's a quest in Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask where you have to take around a bunch of different letters and items between these different NPCs, and it's this chain. So this guy gives you this thing, and you have to go get this thing from the other guy, and then bring that thing back to the first guy, and then the second guy gives you something to bring to a third guy, and it kind of felt like that in terms of the like structure of the story, because you know he winds up. So he's trying to find Shella, which is the name of his
right.
lover when he gets out of prison, and he does a hit job for this low-level crime boss Monroe, who first offers to help him find her. He does the job in this, which I thought was a good scene when they're in the nightclub. I thought the lead up to that was good, and that whole scene was good. When he's like letting out gas in the bathroom to like get people to leave and it's cause a panic and then just go break the guy's neck.
To be clear, he wasn't shitting.
Not shitting.
Right. Sorry.
Letting out gas in the bathroom.
Yeah.
No,
just thought I would clarify.
Yeah. I just, I mean, it was relatable to me because I have farted and caused panic in a nightclub before.
Right. And then murdered someone in the preceding pandemonium.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I felt bad for Misty.
Yeah, Misty.
She got the short end of the stick, man.
Yeah.
So who's Misty?
She's been getting the short end of the stick.
Who's Misty?
Misty's like a incidental, right? Like she falls in line with like, the particular way in which women, I think, exclude Shella significantly, are kind of portrayed and their role. I think what I liked about this a bit was again, and this we've argued about this before, but just the relevance again of like the author's autobiography and context, but like,
and Vachss has a fascinating personal like story.
Yeah, he's his own version of this kind of guy in certain ways. But like,
yeah,
I took this to be, not a particularly nuanced or subtle kind of critique of like this world that can be created by constantly considering everything like a sexual opportunity or a monetary exchange or a reason to do violence or whatever.
Right.
And so like, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that this was a bit of a critique of this world and like.
Well, I think you can totally tell by reading up about him. And do you know if he lived in New York City? I didn't look that up. But I mean, like New York City in the 80s was like prime seedy underbelly type environment, and it definitely gives me that vibe for sure. And I do get the sense that he knows a lot of what he's talking about, even though it's like it's kind of this basic, like there's a mobster here that might need a hit, or it's not like incredibly.
I think it's a little more bit. I don't know. You said earlier, Paul, you were like, I was expecting it to get darker, and I was like, how fucking much darker?
Yeah, what do you want, bro?
What are you talking? Like, this was pretty fucking dark. Like, the guy.
Well, let me explain why. When I first picked it up,
here's where that reaction is coming from. I mean, so Vachss, his resume is fucking bizarre, right? Like, he worked as a federal investigator into like child sex crimes or something for a while, and then he was
just straight up just sexually transmitted disease.
Okay, what does that even mean? I don't even know
what that. I don't get that.
What does a federal sexually transmitted disease investigator do?
Like, I don't know.
Is that like
look at your penis?
Is that like his only case was the guy who like stabbed kids on the playground with an AIDS needle? That's like is that the kind of case they investigated?
Well, you're right. I think it's significant.
Was he investigating like the government giving people experimental sexual diseases?
Right, like the Tuskegee Airmen, or something.
So he did that, and then he was a social worker, right? And then he was he like ran a home for like violently criminal youths and stuff.
It
So like
became
the guy
about kids.
some shit.
It became, I think it's like what's pointed to me is that it became about children. Like it became about like abused children and children with problems and violence like associated with their lives and all this kind of stuff. Like he honed in on that. And I think it's significant that he honed in on that after going through what sounds like some early iteration of like the special victims unit
Right.
in Chicago or whatever. Like, so yeah, the dude's a weathered veteran of the worst types of behavior in people.
In the back of the book, you were right, Gabe. It's like sexually transmitted diseases investigator.
Yeah, like what?
And he was a maximum security prison youth, or he was the director of a maximum security prison for youthful offenders. And now it says that he was a lawyer in a private
Now he's
practice.
like a child advocate.
Yeah. And he did live in New York
They
City.
had maximum security prisons for specifically youth offenders.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
It's like mass murderers that are like 14 years old.
I guess that can be a thing.
Yeah,
I guess
murder your whole family and you're 13.
Yeah, totally.
Most
I didn't
of
know
those
that.
people are school shooters, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the controlling idea that I got was just this notion essentially of like, because Ghost's own background, which is sort of elaborated on as in one, I think, stretch of the story, sort of towards the beginning, is about a person traumatized as like a child and who was like basically a ward of the state, and like learned to be the way he was. And definitely this whole notion of like shit rolling downhill, abused people becoming abusers. I think these are the things that Vachss is like just trying to not subtly, because he just wants you to know it. Like he's trying to like hammer home even in something like this.
But it's interesting because Ghost or John or whatever, he's not an abuser per se. He's just a killer. He's an assassin. Like he doesn't like I don't think like.
No, I mean Shella is.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we can talk about what the outcome of her fucking story is in a minute.
Yeah, I mean Ghost is certainly affected, but not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think really what he's doing in the whole story is trying to sort of like hold on to the last sliver of his own humanity and his feelings for her. And I think, frankly, in a perverse way, the promise that he makes to her at the beginning of the book to kill her father, who it's implied like was horribly abusive to her.
Yeah.
And that's like his sort of the thing that's keeping him going throughout the text.
Yeah. I mean, and like, again, like, it's all, I think it all is culminated in that, penultimate line by Shella at the end. It's just like, I think that's the thesis, is like, this is what people want to actually hear.
Right.
Like, this is something that could have counteracted the entire story you just read and all of the fucking shit. And I actually thought it was cool that, like, Ghost, again, all these people are self-christened, self-named, which is another thing.
Right. Like,
no one has a name they weren't given by some non-parental figure or gave themselves.
Right.
And, like, it's like, yeah, he Ghost is the kind of guy who is, it's often described in the book, like, no one would look at him, like, he's so nondescript.
He looks like nobody.
He's a non-entity, like, no one gives a shit. But he enters into various realms of violence and criminality to kind of give you the full, like, like, fucking cheese sampler of ways in which crime and violence can occur. You know what I mean? Yes. Like, culminating in like one of the scariest ones, which is like a racial supremacist group.
Yes. Yeah, we haven't even gotten to that part of the story yet. I mean, I think you're right, Matt. Like, I mean, I wondered sometimes in the writing if Ghost didn't disappear too much. Like, I almost like I got that he was supposed to be this like deadened kind of like like as you said, a non-entity, to the point that there's like not a lot of interiority there to even explore. Like there are moments where he mentions some like fleeting memories, but he can't even exactly connect them to anything. He's like, oh, this made me feel something or think about something, but I can't even exactly, it disappears like more or less instantly.
Yeah.
Which I thought was effective, but I sort of was like, I felt like I thought the descriptions that you guys said earlier in our previous discussions were apt. It's basic. I think it was basically just like Forrest Gump, Max Payne, and it's like basically what this character came off to be as.
Perfect. I mean, it's so perfect.
Yeah, mixed with a little bit of that Zelda quest you're talking about too.
Yeah, mixed
right.
with
Yeah.
I mean,
fetch quests, which sounds bad, but when you say like, okay, we have Forrest Gump as Max Payne doing Zelda fetch quests, that does not sound like a ringing endorsement. But
it's 60% video games.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be like 60% video game analogies for the book we're reading, but I think it's actually
they're very accurate.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Well, I mean, one other reason I think it felt like a video game to me is that like he felt like a very video game hero type character. Like, I murder people, I had a bad childhood, and I don't like people that are harmful to kids.
He's
might as well lump.
He's basically
Hitman.
He's not Serious Sam, or he's too Serious Sam.
But also just like
molested Duke Nukem.
Yeah. But the even like him eventually infiltrating the white supremacists felt like he had been leveling up in the story, and he's going like, this is the big boss battle.
Sure.
And throughout the whole thing,
definitely over 9,000 by then.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think what made it feel more like a story-driven video game too, like Tomb Raider or something, was that I never felt like he was going to get off the track of the story that was put in place. Like I never was in fear for his life. Like he wasn't going to kill the person. I was just like, oh, he's gonna do it. There was no tension there.
Okay, yeah, I know. I get what you're saying, but I do kind of want to defend that section because I enjoyed that section. I think. Okay, so maybe we should just be explicit about what happens. So the path for him to find Shella runs through. He meets this guy by chance at a bar, who's a Native American guy who's involved with basically a ring of assassins. And one of their members is in prison and they're trying to get him out. But in order to do that, they have to do a favor for this sort of like mega mind, like behind the computer hacker man who...
Yeah, he felt kind of like FBI or something.
Yeah,
maybe.
Like former FBI or current FBI or something like that. Who one of his people was killed by a white supremacist group who he now wants revenge on, and he wants their leader dead.
Yeah.
And so it's this like 6 degrees of like Kevin Bacon situation where he has got to do a favor for the guy who owes another guy a favor, who needs someone killed as a revenge for another guy. And so he winds up, infiltrating this white supremacist compound. I mean, I actually didn't feel that it was... So like it was tensionless in a certain way, because I agree the outcome was like more or less predetermined. Like he was going to get out of there alive, I felt like, from the beginning. But I didn't think that was the goal. Like I thought, I really liked that he spent some time there. Like he was there for what sound like in the time of the book seemed like weeks at least, if not months. Yeah. And
you did a good job.
They get into the minutia of his like day-to-day life on this white supremacist compound, the breakfast that he eats and the cooks in the kitchen. And like, it's not like he just goes there and like goes straight to the boss fight. So I actually liked that section quite a bit.
No, I did too. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I like I liked it a lot too. That's one of my favorite sections of the book. I couldn't get over that tensionless feeling I had. Like everything he said, like he always made the right move. He like gained the respect of like the guy at the bar that recruited him pretty quickly. Everyone just like like there was just a lack of tension throughout the whole process.
Well, I think.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
well, I mean, maybe not very effectively, but I think they tried to inject a bit of just tension in the fact that he is such a cipher kind of non-entity that he still like puts people off just by his lack of giving a shit about anything, and his ability to just sort of parrot things and people picking up on that he's got no real like conviction, or like he weirds people out. He's not seamlessly just injected into each scenario. People are like, what do you people just basically think he's like semi-retarded and like aren't fully accepting of him sometimes, but
Which
it's
I
not
also
a lot.
think is a plausible, like that's a plausible explanation for kind of like a lot of the way the story goes, right? Like if someone comes up to you and is like, hey, will you, go on this like white supremacist assassination run through a black neighborhood, and you're just like, yeah, and then you just do it, like they're gonna be more likely to trust you and ask you to do more stuff. Like if you just say, yeah, I'll do whatever anyone says to me at any time, and then do it. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like given his character.
But that also
it was plausible. You're right, because he does all the right things very early on. And
But that's where I think I disagree. He doesn't. It's not that he does the right things. He does whatever. He does whatever people say you should do. Like, hey, can you do this? He's like, yeah, sure.
But it's not even that it's seamless in that way. It's weird occasionally that he's so game. Like he's just like, you want to kill a black guy? And he's like, yeah. And they're like, I mean, this is a big deal. Are you sure? Like,
yeah, where's the gun?
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, I'll do it. And people are like,
well, to be fair, he was already in the plan at that point, right? Like he was already deeply involved in the like revenge scheme with the Megamind guy and the Native American.
But like he doesn't know how to like. There's no acting natural.
Yeah,
he doesn't know how to feign even a bit of hesitancy or anything. It's just like, okay, here is goal X to get to Y, and yeah. I mean, you're right to compare it to just a kind of video game on rails quest. It's like you got to fulfill these objectives in order to just get to your goal.
I think it would have been hilarious for this choose your own adventure book, and then every time he dies, you just get the Morrowind character death screen.
Yeah. You didn't see Shella. Well, I kind of want to go back to like just the beginning and more of just like the tropes of like noir. Mm-hmm. Or I think it's noir. Hard boiled.
Which that's an interesting question in and of itself. Is hard boiled a distinct genre from noir?
Both have, I believe, the like definition of the world being essentially just this minatory kind of threatening place where everything is just sort of engaged with through threats of violence or people trying to like fuck you over. Like there's no humanity. And what I kind of liked was the implication that this isn't necessarily true of the world, but you can place yourself in hell if you like start off the wrong way, right. And it's so hard to get out, and like
or be placed, not necessarily place yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, be placed in hell, and then you either perpetuate it or like it just takes so much to struggle your way out of it. And again, I feel like the very heavy-handed lesson is just like people looking for a genuine connection. Like it's really that simple, I think. I don't think Vachss is really trying to go for anything more light and layered and subtle than just like people want to be loved, and feel necessary, and you can avoid this entire underworld of darkness if you just start off with that or something.
But of course, right? Like, and again, this sort of touches on a discussion that we had about the mountain lion, which is that like, but like it's all fate too in this world in some ways, right? Like,
Yeah.
these people had there's no bootstrapping here, right? Like there's no
If anything, they're doing it, right? Like if anything, they are bootstrapping.
they're doing the
Just
best thing. They're doing the
yeah.
closest they can get to bootstrapping, right? Like
Right.
you're never climbing out of the lives that these people had as children in any sort of meaningful way.
I can't even recall any instances where like any of the characters even brought up the question of trying to get out of the world, though. Maybe I'm wrong, but like there wasn't even any like, oh, this world's so fucked up, I want to get out someday.
Right.
I don't remember any of that. It was just like, we are players in this world and this is what we do. These are the things that are happening. And the outside world doesn't even like really come into play.
Yep. I agree. I think there's a deep sort of fatalism to all these characters.
It's like they are there, and this is the stories that they have, and
these are their stories. Dun, dun.
These are their stories.
and we brought it up before, but like with other books, but like the sense of place, like this guy goes all over the US.
Yeah.
And none of it is different from any of the other of it.
Right.
Right. It's all just fucking strip clubs and strip malls and just like motels and stretches of road, and it's just only that, no matter where you are. Which
I enjoyed, because that felt true to me. Like that feels real. Like it was a really good way of like presenting this like layer cake vision of the United States physically, right? Like where you can go anywhere in the United States, and if you are in a certain strata or you've had a certain like type of life, it matters whether or not you're in Indianapolis or Tempe or fucking or Seattle or whatever. But underneath all that, it's the same everywhere. It's the same strip clubs, it's the same fucking bars, it's the same motels. And I thought that sort of like flattening was very effective. I think that's
it's the same the same violence, it's the same vices that are fueling the, I think, significantly economy of like all these spaces.
It's like the same monopoly board wherever you go, to whatever city you're in. It's like
you always go to jail.
Yeah. There's always someone else winning that's collecting money from you.
Someone else already built it. They already built 2 hotels on the property.
Yeah, some fuckers already got those little red building pieces on all of the squares.
I do think like the closest that he gets. Well, one of the things that I think is interesting is his sort of journey, like the not that there's any positivity or hope necessarily in this book, but one of the things that I think is interesting is that like he gets 2 sorts of visions in his story of chosen family, right? He gets the vision of chosen family from the Native American group, where their whole thing is that like blood doesn't matter, like we're brothers, we're all like, we're gonna have your back. They send him into the white supremacist compound and they're like, just do your thing, it doesn't matter how long it takes, we're gonna be there. Like when you leave, we'll be there and we'll cover you, we'll shoot the guys if they chase you, whatever. And they, the Native American guy, what's his name, he just calls him the Indian, I think, in the book. They ultimately build up to doing this, like put it like this sort of like arrival thing where they put their hands up together like this, grasp each other's hand as a sign of like brotherhood. But then he gets another vision of that inside the white supremacist compound, where they all also, I think meaningfully, call themselves brother. They call themselves, they talk about how they're all sort of like the white man and the white. So it's interesting that he gets these sort of like dueling visions of like the ways in which people choose families in situations of like abject loneliness and trauma,
Yeah.
and like two directions that can go, both of them of course very dark, but like
Yeah.
notably distinct.
Right. Exactly. Like just like one less dark.
Right.
And there is a bit of like, you know, I can't, I don't know what to make of like, you know, the Native American, is it Comanche? Like the group that's
I
like
think he
sort of
says he's mixed. He's like Comanche and something else.
I can't remember. I think it might have been Comanche though.
you know, like as a very American book, it feels as though they're like the first group of people to have been done trauma to in this particular land,
Right.
and therefore they have the deepest knowledge of how to band together and stick together and do this kind of like blood brotherhood / retributive violence
And I
to
think
the others.
I think it makes it significant that one of the most sort of the most often repeated tropes of the white supremacists on their compound is, we own this land, this is ours, we own, this is our own land, we bought it fair and clear legally. And I think that the political significance of their opposition being a Native American group is like sort of striking.
Yeah, it's super effective.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just like as a quiet send up of the whole rationale and like internal logic of white supremacy, it's pretty funny, you know, because they kill the one, you know, questionably gay member of their group
Because he lifts
and
weights.
yeah, because
that was very unclear to me. Like, what? There's no proof at all. He just like wears a tight shirt one day, and they're like, "It was fucking gay."
but just also like all the parroting of like, yeah, that's true though.
That's basically what happened. I was like, "Oh, are they gonna like uncover something where he's like actually done something like in the showers or something?" Maybe they did, but when I read it, I was like, what did he do besides wear a tight shirt and wanting to lift weights?
Yeah, it's not clear. It's sad. He's Ghost's one friend.
I actually thought that character, I felt really bad for him because there was one
What's his name?
Murray.
Murray.
talking.
I know the internet's spazzing out.
Have one friend. Oh,
He'll be back. There you go. You're back.
There you go. You're back, bro.
Oh. What was I saying?
You were talking
Something about Murray. Murray.
Oh yeah, I was just saying that I actually found his character, like in his death, to be pretty horrible and tragic, and just, you know, he joined because he wanted friends, and it was like, obviously he was part of white supremacist group, but like you got to think of the players in this world, in the world that he grew up in, and it was just actually like it was sad just to hear him say that he wanted friends.
He's like,
I think
he's like, oh, we're like, obviously we're here because we hate black people, but like, why are you really here?
Why are you really
right?
Yeah. He's like, well, I'm really here. I want buddies.
Like, I just needed some bros to like, please, like, just someone.
White supremacy is for the boys.
Yeah. just a white power salute, like going into a dap with his boys.
There's a white power salute going into a hug and kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, I know. I definitely hate the Jews. I hate the blacks for sure. But like, can we like be bros?
You want to like hang out and like,
you want to like lift weights?
I just want to like play pool with you, man. But like Jews.
But I think Matt, I think you're like, I think you're right. Like as a send up, and I think this thing that Paul mentioned about like, they basically killed him because he wanted to lift weights and wear a tight shirt. And now to them, they were like, oh, this guy's definitely gay. And it's hilarious because, again, as a sort of like parody of white supremacist culture, one of their whole things is like chosen race, purity, pure physical fitness. We are the most...
The golden one.
We are, the golden one. We are the golden ones.
just like pure genetics and physical fitness, and the guy who like is the most physically fit of all of them, they're like gay. Kill him.
Yeah. You're gonna, yeah, you do. You just snuff him out, man.
Yeah.
He's annoying. But also just all the
to lift weights with him.
Kill
He's dead.
him. Also, like
Picturing someone
the
doing curls with someone else's dick, just like
massive freaky cock. So heavy. I'm gonna do bicep isolation curls with it.
Jailhouse curls, massive freaky cock.
But just like the Ghost's own like need because of his inability to like feel anything and therefore engage in any other dimension other than memorization with anything.
right.
He like really like it. He ends up through his own character kind of driving home just like all the stupid rote hate shit that like feels like tired even during the white supremacist parts, where he's just like, where even like the Indian handlers of the Ghost who are like, okay, so what you're gonna need to do next time you go in there is ask them about Rhodesia,
Yeah.
and then he's like, they'll love that, and then just like him in the car the next chapter going like, so what's Rhodesia?
Yeah. And the guy fucking loves it.
And the guy fucking loves
Yeah.
it. Well, you'll see Cecil Rhodes, and it's just like,
Well, I thought the other
That's why it reminded me of a video game too. Like the Indian guy was just like the guy he goes off on a quest to meet up and gives him information to deal with so he can go back to the main storyline and be like, yeah.
The other
Right.
thing about the memorization and the sort of like roteness of white supremacy culture that I think is so funny is that he you know when he's meeting his Native American contact in the basement of his apartment, the guy asks him a couple questions and he repeats back like pretty exactly the white supremacist
Verbatim.
talking points, and the guy is like, holy shit, like you actually listened to what they said to you? And he's like, oh yeah. And like the vibe that I got was that the guy was kind of worried that he was being converted, and he was like, and he goes, do you ever like think about any of that stuff? And he just goes, no.
which is Chad in that context, kind
And
of.
also just true of white supremacists in general. Like, no,
Right,
of course they don't think about it. Like they just fucking repeat it.
Yeah. It's so comforting. It's like a worry stone that you just can kind of rub. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like all it fucking is.
Yes.
And
Rhodesia is just literally like fucking like the fucking Middle Earth for these people. They're just like,
they just want to live in the Shire of Rhodesia. And like, yeah, he kind of just fits in like a glove because he's like social tofu. He like he just takes on the flavor of whatever, and it's always violent and sort of odious flavors that he takes on because that's his whole world. But
like actual tofu.
yes, yeah, or that what is it, 1,000-year tofu?
Just
or
kidding.
whatever?
I love tofu. Oh yeah, the 1,000-year tofu. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just nasty.
I would love to eat some of that.
I know. I went to China. I was on offer.
When did
and
you
I did
go to
eat it
China?
in 2008.
Damn.
Yeah, it was cool. They were building the Olympic compound at the time in
How'd that
Beijing.
work out? Great. It was lovely.
I don't know. You know, I'm sure that I'm sure we didn't get the full story ever. It looked cool though. There was a washing cube.
The Chinese Olympic torch was actually cooking up the coronavirus the whole time.
Oh my god, there were so many burn victims out there. That's the one thing that I took away from my hyper curated trip with my grandparents. There were people out there, no matter where I went in this massive country, that were just all the same type of burn victim. And I was like, what
that
the
was on
fuck's
the
up with that?
curated trip.
Yes. And I was like, what the fuck is this about?
That's strange.
Anyway,
I'm sure there's an
just a
explanation.
tangent.
If anyone has an explanation, I want to hear it.
Yeah, if this goes out and someone knows what we're talking about, let us know. the white, I feel like the white supremacist portion of the book is kind of like a culmination of an idea, though, right? Because Gabe, you were mentioning like chosen families and stuff, and you know, I also went through the Wikipedia, and like, I mean,
Also,
that's
the title of his proto podcast on the
he's
like
got
that video that I sent you in the chat where he's owning Roman Polanski, which is
yeah,
hilarious. And if
Yeah.
we release this episode, we'll put that in the description of
yes.
Andrew Vachss destroying, just fucking absolutely owning Roman Polanski. Is hilarious. But the title of that, I don't know, it was like 2008 or something, so it was like pre-podcast really, so it might have been like a public access show or something. But it was, I believe it was called The Chosen Family or Chosen something. I'll look right now. Anyway, sorry.
But the idea is like people that have been betrayed by their family through molestation, violence, this kind of assault, this kind of stuff. And then the notion of like seeking out a family, but needing it to be the people that you've like vetted in a way. And like that being kind of everyone's state of affairs in the world of Shella, and I'm assuming a lot of the other of his novels.
Well, I think that for Ghost or John or whatever the main character, like he comes in contact with these different like brotherhoods, but he has no desire at all to like be involved with them. Really, he does not care. Like his family is only Shella. That's the only time that he actually feels like less of himself and more like a human. Like I really like the scene where he where Shella is like, she has really bad cramps and she's going through her period and she's like crying, and he does these very like human moves and tries to comfort her. And it's,
but they're also very like Forrest Gump moves, right?
Well, yeah, I mean that it reminds me of like Forrest Gump and Jenny for sure. Like Shella is totally Jenny.
Yep.
Right.
It's like, oh, you're having your period, like, well, she even makes a joke out of it, right? Like he puts a warm cloth on her forehead and she's like, my fucking stomach hurts, you dumbass. Like, not my head.
She's like Jenny in the sense that she also has AIDS at the end, and so does Jenny.
Yeah.
And she also goes off on her own for years, and he's trying to get her back.
But I mean, Shella, I like it because it's even more interesting because, like, you know, Shella, she's far more than Ghost, even, I would say, the absolute victim of just like her past and psychotic in her own right. Yep. And like, you know, just that always is going to lead to this, you know, it's not just AIDS just to be AIDS, you know, it's like, it's literally a wasting disease transmitted through blood. And like, I think that's a super significant like symbol and kind of metaphor for you know, familial violence being hereditary and all this kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But I would also say that like, maybe her intellectual capacity was better than Ghost's.
Oh, no question.
Totally, but you also don't know if Ghost's intellectual capacity was somehow lessened because of his initial upbringing. Like the earliest I think we hear about his past is when he's at the orphanage already.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would say that I consider him to be more psychotic than Shella, just because he's like even so cold.
No, I don't know, dude.
Yeah, hard to disagree. I think the end. I think you're right that it's unclear, but then at the very end there.
Well, like, okay, why were you saying that, Paul?
Yeah, I'm saying that like with Shella, there's still an emotional element to her actions and to her murders, and Ghost fucking kills people with no emotion, like just to get back to Shella. Like there's not even any like.
You don't think that counts as an emotion though? He loves her and he wants to get back to her.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's probably, with a normal person, there would still be some emotional element to what actions he has to take in order to get her.
He says like, he doesn't want to kill Murray.
Yeah, but he does it anyway.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm saying like, but okay, he does do it anyway, but you're saying there's no emotional element. I think there is in some cases.
I think that was probably the one out of the whole story where there was some emotional.
Well, except the one at the end.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I think all I'm
You
saying
need-
is that like his actions when he kill, or like his thought process and emotional state when he kills, is still incredibly fucked up, like Shella's.
We're not defending. I'm not defending Ghost as like a guy that
No.
like is normal.
No, I know that. All I'm saying is that they're both rooted in childhood trauma.
I think Shella is somebody who was going off the rails very clearly by the end, and like was like going to become a literal serial killer. Like she was like
He was
going
already a serial killer. Well, okay, we
She's
should
a-
probably talk about it and just say what happens. But
yeah.
I just want to go on the record and say that this book came out in 1993 and Forrest Gump came out in 1994. And I'm going to just go on the record and say Forrest Gump ripped off this book. Steven Spielberg is a hack. And Forrest Gump is just happy Shella.
Happy Shella. You have to make a poster of that, a meme poster.
There's so many versions of Happy Shella.
Happy Shella.
Also, I want to mention, because we haven't yet, that Iceberg Slim got a shout out at the beginning
Yeah,
of
the
this book.
dedication page.
And then he also is just sort of name checked in the book itself.
Yep.
Iceberg fucking Slim.
Iceberg, what do you think he is? Iceberg fucking Slim?
Well, and that's the guy the guy that he winds up killing is a pimp.
Right. The guy that they described that as. And it's
Well,
like,
I thought that it was important that he chose that guy to kill. I mean, this is like a roundabout way to say that there are some moral elements in Ghost still, because he had seen that, or known that the pimp liked hooking up with underage girls, like 14-year-olds or whatever.
again, Vox's bailiwick.
So just to give some context for the story, the white supremacist group, in order to get him into the upper echelon, they basically, their initiation ritual is that you have to kill a black person. And
They call it what, the acid test?
they call it the acid test, yeah. And so Ghost, along with his Native American handler guy, arrange it so it's basically like a Dexter thing, right? They arrange it so he kills a black guy who is also prostituting like 10-year-old girls.
Yeah.
So he can get into the group, but he also does, a quote unquote good thing.
A job. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I thought was a little far-fetched, because like, wasn't he just driving around with his...
What I found far-fetched was that the white supremacist group that is painted in the story as like incredibly thorough and like equipped to like vet people like on a governmental level would let the person pick who they killed. That was the thing that was far-fetched to me. Like I think that they would just be like, we're gonna pick and you have to do it.
Well, I think the only thing that I disagree with that about is that in the car he was in, they were described as like the street boys. Like they beat up people with baseball bats. They weren't in the compound. They were just kind of like, they were street guys. And I think the recruiter was with him, but
I'm going with Paul on this one. I think it's pretty sloppy at the level that he was engaged with initially.
Yeah, all right, that's fair. I buy that.
You want to get some nice piss noises on the... I want to get some full on stream.
ooh,
Yeah, boy.
massive freaky.
What's the
Yeah.
opposite of that? Tiny comforting cock?
Oh, that's cute.
Tiny fluffy.
Tiny comforting.
No, the thing that I found far-fetched about that, and maybe I read it wrong or I missed something when I read it, but I think he was just driving around with his white supremacist boys, and they just like happened to see the pimp get out of the car at that moment, and he was like, "Oh, great, I can kill him because we just saw him."
No, Ghost was sort of like, steering them a bit.
Yeah, but I think I was just thinking like, all right, he knows where the pimp lives or hangs out, and he's just getting out of the car at this moment, and he's like, that's the guy. And I was like, that felt very video game scripty moment to me. Just like all the elements just lined up perfectly. Like I just thought the chances of that were very small, and it kind of irked me, but it didn't totally matter either.
Okay,
Yeah,
Mauler.
there's some stuff. Yeah, wow, Mauler.
Yeah, that's a very Polar moment.
If we could sort of popularize this notion that you're Pauler, that would
Pauler?
be really great.
How long before we get a dedicated EFAP episode?
Actually, maybe I should just go
Bring
by.
it.
Maybe I should go by my first name, my initial name, Mike, and then I would just be Mauler.
There you go. Just even more. Become him. Just fucking, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just wear his face.
Yeah. So should we talk about the ending?
Yeah.
Yeah, we sort of mentioned all of the salient shit that he does. Like, he just kills people for various crime guys, petty crime guys, and just shit lords, and fucking and then he eventually kills the leader of a white supremacist militia kind of compound group in Indiana, right, and then he goes and he gets to see Shella.
And he gets off. He exits the compound scot-free.
The one thing I want to say,
Very little guards.
the
Smaller.
one thing that I want to just also, well, there's an explanation for that. He
Yeah, I know.
happened to come out at the right angle out of the back of the building.
Right.
The white supremacist leader's daughter, who lives in a creepy like cage hut, which was very disturbing.
Yeah.
Because the implication I think was that he was like breeding her.
Yes.
So she lets him out the back, and that was how the Native American group had the better angle on shooting his pursuers.
Yeah, they Chris
So
Kyle
whatever.
those
I mean,
two other
you
guys.
know what? You're pollering out right now. Enough with the plausibility talk.
Yeah, I'll stop.
Plausibility.
But I do want to say I did think the initial meeting with the Megamind hacker guy was pretty cool. When they go find him in like this not abandoned building, but like an empty floor where there's like no construction, and they have to like jump over some mysterious trap.
Yeah, some trigger thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go on the record and say that the Matrix copied a little bit of his characterization. He kind of reminded me a bit of Trinity mixed with the Keymaster.
He's the architect. That they stole the idea of the architect from that
Trinity
guy.
and the Keymaster.
Right. I'm gonna also have to say that whatever that movie is with Catherine Zeta-Jones and Sean Connery, where she breaks into a building and does a sexy
and does the spider thing from the ceiling.
Yeah, away from
what
the
the hell is that
lasers.
movie?
She dips down downward dog in her butt. I remember her butt.
I know you do, Paul. Let me see if we could. I just want to know what it's called so I can say it.
The Rock.
No.
Entrapment.
Entrapment.
Thank you. So yeah, so I'm saying Entrapment was also copying from this book.
So we got Forrest Gump, The Matrix, and Entrapment.
I'll also say that I believe I wonder if Iceberg Slim and Vachss actually talked to each other. Iceberg Slim features in he gets dedications from Clockers, the Richard Price book.
Uh-huh.
And
I've heard of it. I've never read it.
And I feel like even David Simon was kind of adjacent to these people that wrote narrative fiction about crime, but were public servants and in various jobs where they would have a professional angle on this stuff beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, David Simon's the prime example of that, for sure.
I don't know where Iceberg Slim was geographically operating out of. I just don't know enough about that history.
Yeah, I just know he's a pimp come author.
So he was from Chicago. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he had movie adaptations from his shit. Iceberg Slim, Portrait of a Pimp with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess he did some of it in LA too, it seems like.
he was big time by then though.
So I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Just
I'm
people
sure
who
that would
came
be- I
off
mean,
of
that would be
crime.
interesting- That would be an interesting history to read if someone wants to write that history of his sort of like influence on crime fiction. I know he was,
Yeah,
he was an author himself, but
I mean, it's again Vachss rather, anti-vax, right? He it's a tradition of like hard-boiled crime noir, but it's also like dramatized nonfiction as well in a certain sense. Like people that came from rough pasts or had direct contact with this world, you know, just give the reader that extra just like frisson of like this person was even I'm this much of a degree away from that world myself, having read the real deal from these people that were like involved.
Yeah.
are you saying it's pornographic?
I'm saying for certain readers it's probably a bit.
Yeah.
Not the writers themselves, but it's the same thing as people who love serial killer documentaries or fucking like murder mystery procedurals, any of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Right
I
here.
definitely didn't find any of the sexual scenes or descriptions at all romanticized. Like I really felt bad for Misty a lot.
Mhm.
Like her characterization was just like she was so rooted in who she was, like trying to please her man and trying to just be a good like sexy woman. And
It was depressing. It was so
it
depressing.
was so depressing. It was so depressing.
Truly, yeah. And just like any form of like affection that wasn't rooted in just like beating the shit out of her, like she
Yeah.
was like so grateful for. It was just, yeah, I think that was her kind of her purpose in the narrative. I think you're supposed to feel that way about her.
Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know if you got that
I mean, I
impression.
think Matt, to go back to your point, I mean, like it seems like all of these characters, like Misty, Shella, John, probably a lot of the others, like I can't help but imagine that they're amalgamations of shit that Vachss saw over the course of his career, right? Like,
yeah,
Totally.
and just and I think it's a very like just sort of violence begets violence. Again, you are once you've succumbed to this lifestyle, it becomes the sum total of like your experience and how you look at everything. Just kind of like
it's
with
its own
Ghost,
telos.
it's just exactly like whatever, you have a hammer and every problem becomes a nail, or that kind of thing.
I think that thinking back to like the whole reading experience, I think that my favorite aspect of the book is that there is no seeking to get out of the world by any of the characters. I know I said that earlier, but when I think about movies like, I don't know, John Wick, there's always like aspects of that, like John Wick is out of the world in the beginning and he's, oh, I don't want to be back in that world,
Right.
and that humanizes the character. But I love that the lack of that in this story is that there's just, this is the way it is, this is it, fuck it, it is what it is.
Yeah, you get the sense that Ghost is just going to do this until he gets got himself.
Right.
Like
Or
there's no way he's not getting killed.
Yeah, and even at the end when he gets in the car, he's just like, he just keeps going, and he's like, this, I don't know.
So let's talk about the ending.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get there.
So he finds Shella ultimately. The Megamind follows through on his promise to track her down. She's sort of gone into the S&M underworld, and she's operating as like a dominatrix basically. And he's able to track her down, and the Native American group takes him out there. And I liked how this was done because it was like no dramatics, no theatrics. It was just dropped. Like, she's at a hospital. We're going to a hospital.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like, because all like everything that we had heard up to that was like they had these pictures of her from the back pages of newspapers and online, and you know, whatever. Not online, because takes place in the early 90s or whatever, but she's a dominatrix and here's where we think she is. And they're like, get in, we're gonna go to a hospital. So they get there and she's like clearly dying in the hospital bed.
Yeah, because the entire time, right up until you see her in the present day, she's described as like kind of ripped, and like almost bodybuilder type.
Yeah, exactly.
Person. Yeah. And then you just get this like skeletal figure in a bed when he finally lays eyes on her in person, which is, you're like, oh fuck, okay, I know what it is.
And so I actually thought this was very effective and like affecting, because it's like, you know, she's like, okay, like I stopped having sex. I was doing this dominatrix stuff where, you know, I was whipping people and, you know, this and that. And yet she has the implication, it's never stated, but it's pretty clear that she has AIDS because she talks about her T cell count and all that.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, what's going on? And then the final couple pages,
she's like,
reveal that she's a serial killer who's drinking people's blood.
Yes. She says that every like one out of every like 60 fucking clients that she gets reminds her of her father. And then, you know, the Dom thing used to heal or like numb thoughts of her past molestation, but now she kind of needs this. And she just goes fucking ham at some point on a certain guy, beats them to death through her S&M practice, and then just drinks their blood and eventually got AIDS.
Well, I think, doesn't she say that like she goes to the bathroom and realizes that there's blood like on her?
Well, so
the first time.
I actually want to read that paragraph because I think
sure.
That was, you know, she talks about killing the first guy, you know, and the fucking look in his eyes when he realized she wasn't going to stop and she was just going to fucking kill him because he reminded her. We
haven't read too many excerpts, which is we should do more of next time.
Yeah.
Well, this is, for me, it's one of these books that I was reading it so quickly. So what was the book, Gabe, that you picked a few weeks ago that was like one long sentence?
The Last Wolf and
yeah, like I barely read I barely underlined any of that because I was just like,
there's no break.
I couldn't really break from this book either. But anyway, go ahead, Gabe.
So this is, I think, the second or third to last page. So she's talking about after killing this first guy who reminded her of her abusive father. She says, I got to need it more and more. I saw his face all the time. Once I must have passed out when I did it. When I came to, he was there all tied up and bloody. I left him there, went into the bathroom to take a shower. Then I saw it, blood on my mouth, all over my mouth. Then the next time I did it, I stopped pretending, stopped playing. I drank their blood. It was the best, sweetest, purest thing I ever did. That's how it must have happened.
Yeah.
Fucked.
Absolutely. E-fucked. Absolutely.
Yeah, but good for her.
What? This is about girl bosses.
Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of read that as like
HRC 2024 for sure, dude.
I'm fucking still with her, honestly.
Oh, me too. I think that's why when Matt, you were saying she was psychotic, I was like, oh yeah, she is psychotic because that is horrible.
I mean,
she's killing like these motherfuckers that like have pictures of.
Not necessarily.
Fucking.
No,
you're right. You're right. But like
the one
first
guy
describes, yeah, you're right.
Sometimes it's just subs that are just excited to be domed by.
Well, and I liked, you know, one of the things that I liked, and this was before the part that I just read, where she was talking about like going across the country and stuff, and basically doing this, and like she was like, this is actually on the previous page. She's talking about going across the country after she's basically started this killing spree, and it says she took a deep breath. Something rattled inside her when she did it. Quote, they knew about it. They had to know. They knew. One of them even asked me, are you her? They knew someone in the underground was killing them, but I never had any trouble getting clients. Never. I got bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
Vampirism almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
So I actually think Twilight also probably ripped off this book.
yes. And I think probably Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Wait, I'm not sure.
Nosferatu.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't sound awkward at all.
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
So anyway,
Oh my fucking god, dude.
so she's dying of AIDS, and essentially at the end, she begs him to kill her, and he does.
Right. She's like, I'll say the one thing I know you want to hear. He says that she loves him. And then he can only do what he's just been doing every single fucking time. And he snaps someone's neck with his hands, which is what he's been doing the whole time.
The whole
Those
fucking
amazing
thing.
killer hands.
Yeah, exactly. It's his only form of expression. It's the only thing he's like capable
Yes.
of doing well. You know, and it's I found it very sad. I thought it was an effective ending.
Me too. I was very sad.
I
And then he gets out, and he goes to the Indian took his jacket that he stole from the white supremacist compound, and the last line is
Right.
that to go back and get his jacket. Just like that, all of this added up to a fucking jacket. It just all added up to nothing, right? Like,
Right. The sum total is just people are gone and there's nothing to show for it except
Right.
like a remnant of some other thing that is like, again, this is the kind of book that I enjoy reading rarely, but when I'm in the mood or like after a stretch, like I love it. Like
Yeah.
it's it's super affecting. I don't, and like I said earlier, I don't get the people that, again, like murder mystery people who are just like, they enjoy the like being in this world where things are simplified down to like violent exchanges
right.
and predetermined violence at the end and all this kind of stuff. But as a description, I don't know, of like a certain substrate of reality and like its internal logic and all this kind of stuff, it's cool and it works.
Well, I think our discussion made me actually like it more, which is always good.
Hell yeah.
I think for sure. I can't think of the noir genre without thinking about Simenon, obviously.
Right.
And I think that in a lot of thematic ways, this book captures that bleak nature that Simenon does so well. It's just like, this is the story that is played out. It's bleak. This is just a description of a shitty event or a shitty world with characters that maybe are questionable, and this is what it is. And I think a lot of the noir genre or mystery genre tends to have more like twists and turns, and it was the father-in-law after all.
Right.
And I think that's definitely what I don't like about the genre. I like it when it's more bleak like this. It's just, a completely different writing style than someone like Simenon, obviously.
There's no real mystery. It's like you kind of want to know where Shella is, but it's not like you're solving an equation, which is like the kind of detective genre or anything like that. It's just like
no equation.
Which, in that sense, it does share some things. I think I have complicated feelings about whether or not it's appropriate to talk about Simenon as a noir writer.
sure.
But I do think this shares with Simenon the same sort of, as you said, Paul, a complete lack of tension. Like in Simenon, there's no tension. Like the guy that you think did it from the beginning always did it, and it's just the sort of going through the paces of like walking through the like shit swamp of like proving that he did it, but he always did it,
Right.
and there's no, it's not some fucking like Agatha Christie, Rube Goldberg thing
Yeah.
trying to figure out that it was someone that you didn't think it was. It always was exactly what you thought it was. And this book certainly sort of has that same vibe for me.
And what I like about it, though, what I like about, in particular, like this writing style and stuff, I highlighted some random spot. Like, again, I think that Ghost is this just sort of figure that moves through these different iterations and instances of violence and born out of trauma and all this kind of stuff. And he even does this like little jab at the crazy man in the abandoned building, who is like the closest we get to a sort of FBI, CIA kind of
right,
like
official,
dude,
like an official involvement,
like the federal level of this thing, which is largely absent. But he goes, Ghost goes, so the crazy man, he wants ... And then the Indian goes, revenge. He lost a man. He has to make it right. But it's not like for us. It's not loyalty. It's like, I can't explain it. It's like someone fucked with his machines or something.
yes.
He was telling me about it. He kept saying he just needed a better plan. That's all. Just a better plan. And I thought that was like,
oh, that's so
I
good.
thought that was an amazing summation of like that level of thinking sort of trickling down and still fucking people over at the like underground violent level of just like, you fucked with his machine. Like, I'm just going to optimize this later. Like,
it's a tweak.
You know what I mean?
I'm tweaking something.
Right. This is just a bug. I'll fix it.
It's like a debugging.
Yeah. I really like that stuck out to me.
Yeah.
I think throughout the book there is this like weird element of, I don't know if it's honor or what, but like everyone seems to keep their word. There's not a lot of backstabbing, I don't think.
That's not true. Monroe literally tries to have him assassinated right at the beginning.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think I'm just thinking of the after that.
The Native Americans are the Native Americans are the only, I think significantly the only true brotherhood. They're still steeped in violence and returning that violence, but
right.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking of the Keymaster. He does keep his word, even though he didn't really have.
Yeah, he does. Well, but he only
know,
does it because the Native American.
Oh yeah, the Native Americans are like, we're gonna kill you.
That if he doesn't, they're gonna kill him.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and he still also wants his fucking equations to work out to be that the white supremacist guy is dead as well because he's a domestic terrorist. And so you still get the sense that he's just, Ghost is a new like fucking variable that he's plugging and chugging into his,
he's
into
like,
whatever.
He's a little bit like Neo.
Ghost, he's like touching a fucking a karate gi and he's like, I know kung fu.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's like.
Yeah,
like
he's kind of, that's
when he like learns to shoot guns or whatever, they're like, oh, you're a natural. I know you're the one.
Oh,
I think they actually
one issue that I did have from the Mahler perspective, just the sort of like YouTube critic plot hole.
Yeah.
Why introduce this mysterious figure with the bow and never bring her back?
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like it was trying to sort of like he felt like maybe he needed another female character to be kind of more on equal footing. Yeah, and it was just
she never comes back. She's there for literally like 3 paragraphs. She walks out of the woods and hands him a bow and he shoots it and she's like
a perfect shot.
One and just leaves.
Yeah.
That was kind of dumb.
He was like, who are you, Jet Li the One?
He shot a bow and arrow and she was like, nice.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
I was like, oh, cool. Because I'm like predicting from like a dumb,
payoff standpoint.
payoff perspective, like, oh, he's going to be in a position where a white supremacist is about to shoot him and he's going to get an arrow through the heart. She's going to be waiting in the woods or whatever,
right,
protecting him. And she just never comes back ever. Like,
and even if she was there and shot the white supremacist with a bow and arrow, wouldn't
that
the
would have
white
also been stupid in a
supremacists-
certain way.
Yeah, it would have been really dumb. They would have been like, oh, they're definitely Native Americans that are after.
it's 100%.
100%. I had a feeling, but now I know for sure.
I will say it took me a while. Like I wasn't sure how to feel about the imagery of a group of shadowy Native Americans like circling the white person's compound in the night. Like I'm not
Yeah.
That's not exactly like the best sort of imagery.
Yeah, I maybe it's supposed to be this kind of like
get why he did it, but
tit for tat kind of thing. But yeah,
One
literally, the white people were literally circling the wagons.
yeah, exactly.
One Mahler moment I had that I have since discounted in my own brain was when he's escaping from the compound. There's a moment where he's like, I wish I underlined it, but he's like, and in this moment, I knew that I would never see Shella again. And then he obviously does see Shella again.
Right.
But at first, I read that as like when I got to the section at the end with where you see Shella, I was like, I remember that line, and I was like, well, you're looking at her. What are you talking? That line makes no sense. Mahler. I'm Mahlering this moment. But I think it actually does make sense because he sees Shella, but she isn't who he remembered her being. She's wasted away. He is never going to see who he remembers Shella as ever again. She's going to die. She's already wasted away and dying. So I actually thought that line was actually good after I thought about it with my brain.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
I just found the line that Murray says where, he's like, why did you join up, John? I hate N-words, I told him. Yeah, I know, me too. As much as anybody. But like part of it, I guess, I wanted to have friends too. Real friends. Do you get it? So much more pathetic than I even remember.
Yeah, it was so pathetic. And sad.
Oh man. Do you want to do everyone's favorite segment? We just did read another book.
Yeah, let's do it.
AKA
if you don't know,
Sorting Hat.
which
Sorting Hat.
you don't know because this is the first time we've ever done this on a recording. This is
Unless
unless
we release this episodes later.
potentially. Unless we release this
Beautifully
episodes later and we decide this is gonna be something that you listen to later after you've listened to another episode, you might not know what we're doing.
Okay.
We're gonna put all of the characters, the main characters, into a Harry Potter house, and
and you're just gonna deal with it.
And you're gonna deal with it, and you're gonna sit there and listen to it because everyone always says, "Oh, I love Harry Potter." Oh yeah, read another book. Well, guess what? We just did. So
We did.
We get to put
We
that
earned this.
Harry Potter house now.
We did earn it.
All right, so
Yeah.
should we just start at the top, the big ticket item, or do you want to start with someone a little bit?
The man of the hour, Ghost. Where is he sitting?
John Smith, I would say Gryffindor for me.
Can you? Can you like? Okay.
My one word sentence, or maybe two sentences, would be that you can be a Gryffindor and still be a little bit psychotic.
That's true, and that is a misconception about Gryffindor.
You can be a Hufflepuff and rape.
We said that's when Hufflepuffs can rape is a big part of our.
That's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you need to sum up our podcast to your friends, just say Hufflepuff can rape.
Hufflepuff can rape. Write a paper on it.
I'm gonna say that though that Ghost is Hufflepuff for me.
I actually was gonna say he was Hufflepuff as well. He's
Are
the
you
most-
just saying that because he's like fucking stupid? Like
no.
like like
No, dog.
Forrest Gump, and all dumb people are.
No, I'm saying that because I'm saying no, I'm not. I'm saying that because he follows
Come on,
through on his
bro.
word and he's loyal to the people that he gives his word to, and he's
Yes.
Okay,
an amazing, he's an amazing friend.
There's no heroism in.
Yes, it's not about bravery.
Well, I mean, okay, Matt is frozen for me.
He'll come
Is he-
back.
All right. Well, I mean, for me, I guess you have to like think about what.
I lose you guys.
You're back. You're back now, Matt.
All right, sorry, bros.
I think of Ghost as being brave, even though it's not like he's facing any fears. He acts brave in.
But isn't that what makes the distinction important? Is
Yes.
overcoming a fear?
Overcoming a fear? Right.
R2D2 is not brave. He's a robot.
I would actually.
Yeah,
I think that he is
for sure.
Brave is not. That's the thing. Brave does not describe a set of objective relations. Brave is a subjective description, right? It's about you doing something that is beyond your sort of self understanding, right? You're doing something that's more than you thought yourself capable of.
Yes.
You know,
Well, I mean,
if I'm, and this goes back to Aaron. This is an Aristotelian point about the virtues and finding the mean.
bringing out your fucking philosophy robe with this one.
Yes, I'll put it on. I have it. If I'm like a formally trained soldier who has a reasonable expectation of winning a fight, and I go into that fight, I'm not brave. I'm just normal. I'm rational. Like that's what I do. That's what I'm doing. Bravery involves, now, of course, you can be too brave, which is Aristotle calls foolhardiness. But I think bravery has to do, like, if you don't have any investment in your own life or the lives of anybody else, like, it can't be called bravery. And that's what Ghost is doing. But
Well,
he is fucking loyal.
Yes.
I do agree. Maybe my position will change, and he is a Hufflepuff. But I do want to. It is interesting because
It's important.
he talks so much about his, like, early on in his life, like closing off of emotions. Like, I'm not going to be sad because this happened one time when I cried and this bully hit me in the face. So I learned not to cry anymore.
Right.
So just because you're closing off your emotions and maybe closing off fear as an emotion, does that discount the fact that you did a brave act, like infiltrate a fucking Nazi?
I think I think this is where you're off the rails. Bravery is not about acts. Bravery is about people.
Yeah.
Acts are not brave. People are brave.
Acts are
So you could have the same exact act, right? Two different people could infiltrate the Nazi compound to assassinate the leader, and they could do the exact same thing. One of them could be brave and the other one could not be brave. The act is not brave. It's the person that's brave.
I think we might have to dive into this more, but let's shelf it for now.
Well, we'll table it.
We'll table it for now.
We'll table the discussion.
So let's get this on the record formally. Matt, what house is Ghost?
He's Hufflepuff.
I say Hufflepuff. Paul?
I'm gonna say Gryffindor.
Okay,
Still,
that's fine.
it might
All right.
be bitter, but I'm gonna say Gryffindor.
It's all right. Healthy debate.
Healthy debate, baby. Okay, let's talk about the title character, Shella.
Slytherin. I'm gonna have to say Slytherin.
Yeah.
But this is another one of those instances where I don't want to just say Slytherin because she does bad things.
No, I think she's Slytherin as well. She
Yeah,
reminds me of Draco Malfoy in the sense that she
damaged by her father.
yeah.
Yeah, but she's not like a weakling like Malfoy.
Right, Malfoy is also a little soy boy.
He's a soy boy.
Sure,
Malfoy picks out the soy flavored beans from the Bertie Bott's.
he's like, only. Oops, all soy. I think I think he's I think God damn it, I think Shella is a Slytherin because she's taken the evil route with, you know, inherited violence, and also I think she's fairly manipulative, and
Powerful.
and I don't think she's courageously dealing at all with her past, because that would mean she would like find a healthy outlet or some sort of way to cope.
She
and
did try
build.
to come back to Ghost originally.
She did, but she didn't try as hard as Ghost.
But when if she ever got back to Ghost, like their whole fucking arrangement is still evil.
It's
like
fucked.
they're still just luring shitty guys into thinking they're gonna have sex, and then they get murdered.
Yeah,
Like,
true.
Well, still, I mean, I have to go back to the statement though that Hufflepuffs can rape. So like anyone in those, any person in any house could be a serial murderer. So you can't. I don't think that that's the reason why she's a Slytherin for me. I find her to be like brave in the way that a Gryffindor can be brave. I find her personality a little Gryffindory, but I do think that when it comes down to her loyalty to Ghost and her kind of like sense of giving up about finding him or pursuing him, and just kind of accepting that this is the way it is, I find that to be a little bit more Slytherin than Gryffindor.
Yeah. All right. I'm convinced. I agree.
okay, so I once again you're gonna say what?
I think she's Slytherin. I agree.
Yeah, it's cunning, ambitious. Like what were the other fucking?
It's not. I don't think
Aspects
she's
of it.
ambitious. She's fatalistic.
Yeah,
That's why that's my hang up is that Slytherins think they can rise above fate. They can control the fucking world, right? Like they're the ones who have the power. And I don't think she has that view. Like she is manipulative. She is you know, sort of a bad kind of corrupting influence. But she's not ambitious. Does not check out.
Not ambitious, but at least power hungry. Like even if she's not in a position in her life.
cunning is the other one.
Okay,
that she
okay,
is.
Paul. That actually just clicked with me. Power hungry. That's why she becomes a dominatrix. Obviously, it's for shitty. It's for obviously understandable reasons because of her background.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're not exactly ambitious reasons, but like I think
Right.
a power hungry notion is like Slytherin to me.
All right.
Yeah,
Signed up. She's
and yeah, and who better to partner with a Slytherin than a Hufflepuff? Some sort of puppy dog loyal. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. That's
You're
why
right.
they click. My parents are listening to
This podcast.
the Kamala.
debate?
Yeah, the Kamala
Oh
Pence
God, I'm so glad I'm not watching that shit.
debate. Do we want to even analyze other characters? Like I feel like it's so.
I want to do Murray, I
I,
think,
okay, we'll do Murray.
but
Murray
Okay.
is a Hufflepuff.
Yeah,
yeah, Hufflepuff.
He's,
Most-
he just wants friends and he wants to be a good friend.
I think the whole white supremacist organization is supposed to be largely Hufflepuff.
It's just so counterintuitive.
Yeah,
Yeah, they want to be Slytherin so bad, but
they
they're
want to be
just
Death Eaters, but they're really not, and that's where J.K. Rowling got her own book wrong. Once again, J.K. Rowling got her own book wrong.
Do we want to talk about the Indian? Not my
Ravenclaw.
name, his actual name in the book.
Yes.
actual name.
I want to say Ravenclaw, but is that racist?
Yes, yes, it is.
You just think he wears a literal Ravenclaw around his neck and a fucking necklace?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is racist, bro.
Because he's seen like 50 hawks in his life, and they have claws. So
I don't know, bro.
I think.
I think
I mean it.
No, I think he could be Ravenclaw. I don't think that's a weird. Designation.
I was joking mostly, but like,
What else?
yeah.
But I mean, of course, he could be, he could be the sort of apex of Hufflepuffness, where it's like this mutually reinforcing brotherhood of loyal people who will do anything for each other.
That actually makes more sense to me now, and I'm going to say Hufflepuff.
All right.
Yeah, I think you're right. I said Gryffindor originally, but maybe that's me being
I
right.
think the thing is, this entire book is defined by corrupted and psycho Hufflepuffs.
Yeah.
Like, it's just all people that have been burned so badly and are in such horrible contexts of violence that they absolutely need everyone else to be like unquestionably loyal.
Yes.
And that's
And
the only way
that's
they're
the
gonna.
only thing that makes sense to them.
Right, exactly.
I think one thing I'm confused about, or I want to talk about Hufflepuffs, is like you're more Hufflepuff if you're more loyal to an organization, not Sterner, or to a person.
Oh, that's a good question.
That's actually not a bad. I
think
guess
you're
it's more a matter of how you can direct the loyalty, and the loyalty stands alone as a quality of Hufflepuff, like, which is why you get easy corruptions of loyalty, but the predilection to be loyal is Hufflepuff.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that's a good point. I mean, I think it's a really good question because
Yeah.
in some ways I associate loyalty to an organization with Slytherin.
Craven fear and wanting to hide
Right.
in a
Like
group.
wanting to sort of climb an organizational ladder and sort of like, being the sort of like model employee, everyone, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Like that to me is Slytherin.
It's more conducive to like power plays and sizing people up as like obstacles that you can climb over and stuff like that.
Which in our sort of like late, neoliberal context is expressed as organizational loyalty, right?
Yeah.
You are looking out for the best you're looking out for the best interests of the organization, but also yourself, right?
As defined by your advancement.
Right.
I think that difference is huge, though. It's like if you're loyal to an organization, that's one thing, but if you're loyal to an organization with keeping in mind that you actually are looking out for yourself within that organization and your own like rise up to a higher position, that makes you more Slytherin than Hufflepuff, right?
Yeah.
If you're actually like, if you're like loyal to like the Yankees, though, or something like that, like a fandom is.
I think that's a different sort of question. I don't think that like fandoms are loyal, or like are examples of organizational loyalty. I was thinking of like people who like work at Walmart and like tell on their coworkers that steal.
Yeah.
And then get promoted to like night manager. You know what I mean?
No, it's Slytherin, Paul.
That's Slytherin.
I don't know. It depends.
On what?
Well, I think there's an element
this is the most. We are more engaged. I love that we're so much
are we
more
more engaged in this conversation?
emotionally invested as soon as the houses come out.
We're not even talking about the book anymore. It's just
Walmart employee, the Walton family's bottom line, and we're like, is it Slytherin?
We'll table this. I think this will come back eventually.
Of course it will come back.
Yeah.
Do we care to assign a house to Monroe?
Monroe seems pretty Slytherin.
I think so.
Yeah.
What about
Misty's Hufflepuff?
Misty. Let's talk about Misty.
Hufflepuff.
Yeah. But maybe Gryffindor. She does some brave stuff, even though she's like.
No, she again. If she was, all these people. I think we're like precluding Gryffindor basically, because the assumption is if you're brave, then you can break out of these cycles that these people are in, or like they would do.
I do not endorse that claim.
I'm not married to that idea, but just like I think it's rare to find such a person in the contexts that we're talking about.
Right.
Maybe.
I think those are the main ones that I thought were relevant house designations.
Yeah, I think we did it.
Should we keep a database of this? Did anybody write these down?
No,
No, and we shouldn't.
we shouldn't.
I think we probably should. I think there should be a wiki page.
Let's just go with our numerical scores at the end database.
Let's
for
do
people
that
to
soon,
see.
actually, because I want to get some more alcohol at Stewart's, and I got 34 minutes to do it. So
Why?
All right.
Because they're gonna close. Well, okay. I want to talk about everyone's second to favorite segment, which is the least favorite segment, the one that I am forcing us to do again, which is who directs this movie? This book becomes a movie.
Oh man,
obviously Steven Spielberg, because he already directed Forrest Gump.
who's the fucking dude who did Dragged Across Pavement? Or
S. Craig
Dragged-
Zoller.
Yeah, that's who I
that was
want.
a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, I think this is actually exactly what that motherfucker.
I agree. I think I sent
loves
it
to
to you,
do.
Paul, in a text.
Well, Gabe, you said the guy who directed
Dragged
Bone
Across
Tomahawk.
Concrete.
Yeah, Bone
Same
Tomahawk.
guy.
It's the same
Same
guy.
guy.
It's Craig Zoller.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
the guy. Okay, yeah, that would be good.
I
It would
also
actually,
think-
I think it would actually elevate the material.
I was also thinking potentially Abel Ferrara, Bad Lieutenant.
Yes,
that?
dude. Yeah, that would be good.
I think he would do a really good job.
Maybe Paul Schrader.
Paul Schrader.
What's wrong with
Director
Paul? What? Of Taxi Driver?
Oh yeah,
Was there a Max Payne movie?
There was.
there was.
And
Well,
it
the
had
guy-
Mark Wahlberg.
Yep.
The guy who directed that movie. Then that's my pick.
It was like fucking. It just sounds like it's Uwe Boll, but I'm not sure. who it
Yeah,
is.
it's I think the guy that, okay, here's who me personally, who I really would want to direct this movie. William Lustig, who directed the original Maniac slasher movie
Yeah,
and
bro.
Maniac Cop 1, 2, and 3. Because I think
Okay.
he is able to capture the like brutal, unthinking violence, but also the psychopathology of someone like Ghost. I think it would be great. And I thought about the Drive guy, and it turns out with
No, not ref-
Nicholas-
reffin- not
I know,
reffin,
too
not
stylized,
reffin.
too stylized, but
Yeah.
A24.
A20, A20.
Yeah.
But fun fact. William Lustig is working with Nicholas Wingdings
Finding Refns.
on a remake of Maniac Cop with a new director.
That's cool. That's actually
That's-
pretty exciting.
Kind of interested in that. Yeah.
I like Son of.
It's
some
the
of-
guy who directed the most recent Universal Soldier movies.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know that.
So the thing is, we're modernizing and dusting off essentially 70s and 80s like horror gritty realism directors.
Well, I mean, if there's someone more recent, I think then let's talk about it.
I think just the Dragged Across Concrete or whatever guy
Yeah,
is that
Zoller.
the kind of guy. Yeah, the absolutely bizarre tone and like fucking worldview of his movies I think fits with this a bit.
I think he would do a really good job.
And let's call him up.
Craig. Craig.
S. Craig.
How do we address him?
Craig T. Nelson.
S or S Craig?
S.
Hello, Ass Crack.
Yes, neg him.
I thought of another director
We're gonna pua get this guy into making a movie.
because I thought the best character in the whole story was the computer man. I think we'd have to go with the Wachowski sisters.
Let's get that Jupiter ascending sort of speed racer sheen on this thing.
There's no way they would do it because they know they ripped it off to begin with.
They did. They wouldn't want that out. In the
They
public.
want to be far from the scene of the crime. You know what I mean?
What about like what about
Noir.
what about the old boy guy, Park Chan Wook?
That would be good.
I still don't think so. I think it's too stylized. I think
yeah. That's my hang on.
yeah, I think we kind of I feel like we named a decent 3.
I think the Bone Tomahawk guy would do a great job.
Yeah.
I think he would do a really good job with this book.
Because I mean, I think this, like, if I think about this movie actually being translated to film, I feel like someone would try to Sin Cityize it,
Right.
and it would be like too flashy, too Speed Racer.
balls.
But if someone like made it like
Too sucking of balls.
hard boiled noir Bone Tomahawk, dry,
Right.
and it brings out like the actual psychological elements.
Who directed Payback with Mel Gibson?
I do not know.
Anyway, I feel like we did it. We named the good directors that would actually do a good job.
Also, whoever worked on the new Perry Mason show,
that show was awesome.
whoever was involved in that show, I would be interested in seeing them direct this as a movie.
I haven't seen it, so I'm gonna just take your
You
word
haven't
for
seen it? Oh man, it's really good. Okay.
One of the best new shows on HBO, for sure. Loved it.
I would be interested in seeing what they did. Should we do star ratings?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we have an infinite number of digits between numbers, but it's 1 through 5.
Right. Yeah. It's point however long you want to go.
Point
but I'm going 3.6.
Nice.
Okay, thanks.
I'm actually glad. I'm glad. I was a little worried that this was gonna like fall flat the whole time I was reading it. So I'm gonna go 3.55.
Come on, bro. That's just my score.
I know. But that's like what
just say it.
That I had in my head, and I didn't want to be exact.
All right.
I mean, that's basically where I'm at. Yeah, I'm like 3.6. I definitely want to read. I am going to buy his Batman book, and I'm gonna read it.
I was actually gonna say that. Out of all the other books that I read about, I didn't know about that one, but that's the one I would be interested in.
And I would like to read some of his detective series, his Burke novels, because I love a good. I mean, this is one of the other ways that I think that his writing sort of overlaps with Simenon, despite all the differences.
Right.
They're very like churnable novels about the same detective that you can read in like a solid 3 hours and like be done.
And that's what Agatha Christie did too, right?
Like, right. Yeah. But she had
100 novels.
Shit, yeah.
But still, you know.
So I do think that is another area of overlap where I want to read the Batman book, and I will probably buy 1 or 2 of the other books as well. So yeah, it's like a 3.6, 3.5 for me for sure.
All right, we're all on the same page with this one, actually.
I think so.
Yeah.
Cool. And for anyone who's listening, again, if this is indeed going up, like we did do a number of books prior, and we're gonna put up all the like non-recorded sessions that we had, just so you get a sense of the reading list and like where it's been going, and we'll keep it updated as we continue. But you can see all the books we've read that had no episode attached with the scores.
Yep, there's a Google Doc, and yeah, we'll
just so you can hassle us about consistency or whatever the fuck that. And we just become Anthony Fantano, where we're just like, you gave Damn a 7, just the whatever.
Yeah,
hello, everybody. Anthony Book Tano here, internet's busiest book nerd.
Reading a lot of words.
Internet's busiest bookworm.
Nice. Little Tim Heidecker squint at the end. All right, cool.
And Andrew Vachss, if you're out there and you enjoyed our review.
Did you say Andrew Vachss?
Anthony Vachss, come on the show.
Come on the show. Read the next book. It's not gonna be one of your books.
It's not gonna be yours.
We already did that.
That would be really cool. That would be awesome to have an author come on and read just another book.
Anything, yeah. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just wish the audience a good rest
Happy
of their
New
day.
Year. It's
Probably.
October.
Happy Halloween. I don't know what the fuck, but
Halloween. Happy winter solstice.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy
Thanksgiving.
Christmas. Merry Christmas.
And happy Easter. And we'll see you on.
And we will see you many times before all of those holidays. Bye.
And we love you, and we're in love with you. Bye.